Hey guys, I'm Dave. Welcome to episode 2 of the Dodge Power Wagon restoration vlog. Today I'm going to be taking you moment by moment through the second and third months of restoration, which occurred during the months of May and June 2020. Stick around, you're watching Parts and Restoration.
This bolt's locked up pretty solid. I saw this trick on one of the YouTube auto shows. What do we see? Hey, how about it? She's turning. Shop hack. Love it. Look at this mess. Got the wheel off, and the front wheel bearing has been completely pulled in preparation for rebuilding the axles off of the good truck. So funny, when I got this truck, it only had one complete brake assembly. The rest were either stripped out like this one or non-existent like the two front wheel bearings. Anyway, started harvesting parts off of the parts truck. This is one of the assemblies for my front axle. I'm going to take the other one off as well and just start stripping this truck down to get all the parts off. I kind of want to pull the cab, pull the engine. This frame is completely shot. I'm going to cut it up, harvest parts off it to resell. I kind of just want to reclaim a little bit of this space, so we'll see what happens with that. But also took a little time tonight to work on my springs. I got the springs marked so that when I take them apart, it'll be easy to reassemble them because there'll be a center line, so I put them in the right direction. I have this entire spring pack disassembled. This is one of the ones off the rear axle. I started, as you may have seen earlier, going through this, checking the pitting on these. It's pretty rough through here. Someone mentioned it might be cracked. It is not. It's a little bit of marking from when I had to go in with the cutting wheel. So depending upon how much pitting is in here, I may or may not reuse this. I actually think this one's probably going to be replaced since it is the top one. If this one cracks, the rest of them are going to kind of fail. So we'll see. Probably going to reuse the rest of these. They look decent. Tonight's mundane work is replacing old cork gaskets that are completely brittle and unusable with some nice new ones that I've made up. Easy peasy. Did the same thing with my sending unit. Making some good work tonight. Quick confessional here. I have no idea how to put all this stuff back together. This is the PTO unit, power takeoff, of my Power Wagon's transmission. And I broke one of my major rules when I took this thing apart, which was I didn't document anything. No photos, no videos, no drawings, no parts lists. About 2 minutes into the disassembly, my phone screen exploded, and instead of stopping like it should have, I was like a freight train barreling down the tracks, couldn't be stopped. I had already started, I had to finish, and so I'm left with this mess. Very little information, no schematics, no nothing. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So stay tuned. Maybe I won't have a PTO. I don't know. It's going to happen. I'm going to fix this thing. So this actually worked out. I was able to find some similar schematics. I looked at some archived story footage from when I actually pulled this off the truck to see how everything was oriented, and kind of just went through systematically. Fortunately, the way these things are made, most of the parts only fit in one place. So I was able to get everything in its place, figure out what everything is, no leftover fasteners. This thing is freaking ready to go. Sorted. Here at Mailer Engine Service, and they got my engine all cleaned up, doing a valve job for me. Got the head all decked. Looking mighty clean. Beautiful. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Back in the shop tonight. Going to be getting acquainted a little bit further with the front axle and the steering knuckle here. I want to get the parts back on this axle so I can place my tire back on here. And I'm going to be continuing to harvest parts off of this here gray parts truck for the good one. I need some brake assemblies. I need some other axle related parts. So once I can get the wheel back on, take my jack out, start stealing parts off of the other side of this axle, and we'll just go from there. Unfortunately, I live on my shop is on a residential street, so nighttime kind of I have to be quiet with my neighbors. So no grinding, no excitement, just little wrench turning. Yeah, that's what I'm up to. Bye. Well, this is a fun little piece of kit here. This is the locking hub on the Power Wagon. Now, the deal with this is the truck is always basically in four-wheel drive. If you want it to be in two-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, you have the ability to unlock or lock this front hub. So basically, when this device is unlocked, what it does is it allows this tire to spin freely. It allows the axle inside of here to be powered, but to not actually transfer any of the power that is generated to the wheel. When you lock it, it mechanically locks into that axle, and it gives you that power to this front wheel. So if you want to go into four-wheel drive from two-wheel, you actually have to stop your truck, get out, and turn this knob here from locked to unlocked. This thing is full of grease. It's very stiff. I'm taking it off, cleaning it, and I'll have it ready for when I'm ready for final assembly.
Hey, what's up, people? So today's job is going to be to take this pack of leaf springs, get them all wire wheeled clean. I got them set up on my portable blacksmith vise here, and I'm going to be just wire wheeling these clean, do rust reformer spray on them, and then get them painted. That's not all going to happen today, but when they're done, they'll be reassembled like the originals, and they'll be able to go back on the truck. So, wish me luck.
2 hours of wire wheeling. Nice and clean, ready to be sprayed with rust converter, which will turn these into a primed, paintable surface. And I'm just gonna paint them, probably like some undercoat paint, nothing fancy. I gotta figure it out, but flat black. Yep, shiny. So I got the spring pack all mocked up, and I got a measure for some clamps that hold these puppies together. So you can see there's the original mounting location for that. Got about 4 inches there. The other mounting location, about 2.5. And these springs are, I think, 1.75 inches. Yep. So I'm gonna need 2 of them, and then let's see. Lastly, the main pack is 5.5 inches top to bottom, and I think that's a 1/2 inch bolt. Got to measure, but I'm off to Home Depot to buy some parts. Yeah. Oh, it's going down. It is going down.
Oh, hey, make sure you reach out on Instagram at Parts and Restoration. Don't be a stranger.
Rise and grind, ladies and gentlemen. Back here at the shop. Just got off work this morning. I'm going to try and knock out some big stuff today. Got a lot on my plate. I'd really like to get the cab off of this parts truck, pull the engine, and just start taking this thing apart. It's taking up way too much space for what it's actually being used for, and I need some parts off it. So what better time than now? Additionally, today I'd like to get the spring pack that I took apart the other day completely disassembled, well, broken down, painted, and back together. And I've got another pack right here. These are the rear leaves that I'd like to have disassembled, stripped, and start the painting process on that. It's a little ambitious, but it's early, and I think I can do it. There it is, the Chevy small block that came out of the parts truck. This thing is huge. I wasn't really expecting how big this is. I have zero experience with this stuff. The transmission, I believe that's off of like a Dodge B body style truck. What else have I done today? Cab's off. Got myself a rolling chassis, although it's not rolling because the front axle is disassembled. Just doing a little bit of practice for my actual axles, kind of seeing how they come apart. Just getting things stripped down, and now for the last maybe 30 minutes or so, I'm painting leaf springs. About halfway done. This is 1 can of rust converter primer. Got a few more leaves to go. Making awesome progress. Update again in a little bit. See ya. quick tip, I'm working on this fuel tank trying to get it cleaned up so I can paint it. And I started out with one of these kind of aggressive sponge deals that attach to your drill. Put it on my die grinder and it exploded. But anyway, before it did, it left all these scratch marks on here, which I really do not like. Next, I went to a cup wire brush on my angle grinder, which started cleaning the surface, but it wasn't actually getting the paint up in a reasonable amount of time. If I wanted to just lay on this thing all day, the wire wheel on the cup would take it off. Or if I used a much more aggressive wire wheel, I'd have no problem. But why waste all the trouble and time and all the noise and dust? Paint stripper. Smear that all over the dang tank or whatever you're working on. Give it 30 minutes to eat. And when it's done, it'll be clean when you wipe it off. Too easy. Okay, here's the tank after it's been stripped with just paint stripper. There's what's left. When we come back, going in with this boy right here. That's terrifying as shit. I'm fine. Very fat too, but this is fucking bad juju right here. Well, unfortunately my phone died. I had this whole tank completely silver clean, just looking fancy. But you know, the show must go on. So it's covered in rust converting primer. Looking pretty good on the whole, a little bit of thing here and there. I found some repairs that had been made at one point or another. Hopefully these hold. I do need to check this tank for its ability to hold liquid. I think it's good. It's cool, you can see the tack welds, or I should say the spot welds where the baffles are in the tank now that it's all nice and clear. I was hoping to find some kind of stampings on this thing, but there are none. But it was quite a bit of OD olive drab green on this tank. Definitely was a military tank of some sort. If maybe you know about military vehicles and you know what this tank is off of, let me know. I'm curious. So I've been on the warpath against rust lately. This is the second spring pack, completely stripped down. You can see my floor is just absolutely covered in an inch worth of rust. I still have these two front spring packs to do, but this is all stripped out. And as you saw before, all my first rear spring packs have been rust converted. I'm gonna strip that back apart and paint two before I go home today. Man, it has been a crazy day. Just engines and cabs and crazy. So these springs look good and they're gonna be nice and clean and black again, but to make them really work well, you need new bushings. So there's a brass insert that goes in here, and this is pinned into the truck, and it'll sit on these two. There's my spring perches, 1 and 2. So they're pinned through there, and they need to rest tightly in a bushing. I want to give a quick shout out to Davin Rackow from Haggerty. With Haggerty, Davin puts on this video show of how he's rebuilding this old truck and explains how to do all this stuff. Since I have no clue what I'm doing, super duper helpful. Thank you, Haggerty, and thank you, Davin. Well, I got a super exciting package in the mail today. Friends at Eastwood sent me a little care package. I reached out to them, kind of let them know what I was doing, and I got some recommendations for some good products to try. Let's see what we got here. All right, we got goodies. As you guys know, the 58 Power Wagon stripped down to its frame. So to keep the rust away after I stripped it, I'm using this rust encapsulator platinum from Eastwood. It's brush on or spray on, and basically it prevents rust from coming back that you've gotten rid of. It's an encapsulator, really. So you can paint it onto bare metal as well, which is a huge benefit. I'm going to be doing that. It's going to be silver when it comes out, and I'm top coating it in black. This is the Eastwood internal frame rail coating. This stuff's great for those boxed in parts of your frame. It gets in there with this hose and it sprays with this nice wide fog pattern that you see you get in the access there. Anyway, thank you so much to Eastwood for sending these across to me. It's going to be a video of me doing the frame with this stuff. Look forward to that real soon. Gang, so I've got a quick side quest tonight that I'll be taking care of at the home shop. Take a look. tonight's mission is to put new bushings in all of the wear surfaces on the suspension. So I got big boy bushings here, little fellers for here, and they're all getting pressed in on this yet to be restored Wilton device. Wish me luck. Right, no arbor press, no problem. Use what you have available. I wound up having to use 2 bushings for this because they didn't make them in the exact size, so I'm just gonna have to shorten up yonder side with the hacksaw. No big deal. On to the springs. So here's the pin, and there's the old bushing. And I'll tell you what, fellers, that's a tight fit, especially considering the old bushing and the pin was like a hot dog in a hallway. All right, fellas. Not too tight, just needs a little encouragement. And she's right going into her new home. One more turn. That'll do it. That's a beautiful thing. Let's have a look. Nice. Very nice. Well, she's in. Teeny little weeble wobble, which I suppose is just within tolerance, or maybe my pin is just a little teeny bit worn, but I think we're good. Super stoked on this too. Yeah. Well, there it is, gang. All the bushings are in place. These springs are ready to go back on the truck when the time comes. And to get a quick project like this knocked out, where I'm not up till 1 o'clock in the morning working on the truck, where I'm not filthy, dirty, covered in, old mud and grease, always fun, but it's starting to wear on me a little bit. We've been at this pretty hard for a few months now, and it's a lot. So to be able to go inside now, drink a beer, and have a good my night, it's a beautiful thing. Take care, guys. Back at it today, getting the rest of this truck disassembled. I just finished pulling off the couple of the control arms, steering box, a little bit of suspension related stuff. Front axle's off, just dropped the transfer case. And I'm gonna start working on these this back axle here. Not sure why I'm so obsessed with this old truck right now. I just kind of don't feel like starting the paint work on this yet. I hate painting, but that's coming up soon. And we're making great progress. Quick little bit of innovation here. It's a little tip for you. This pin holds this bit of linkage in that connects to the suspension. Now, there's no way to punch this pin out from the rear. You have to pull it out. The tool to pull this pin out costs money. So instead of using money, I'm using some common sense innovation. I made a puller using a 15/16 socket, the screw thread that holds little zerk on there, the little oil fitting, and I'm just gonna, one washer at a time, I'm gonna back this thing out until I'm able to pull that pin out and grab it with some vice grips and rip her on out. There she is in place, and as I turn this screw, it's pulling that pin out and it's kind of being captured inside of that socket. Interesting unintended consequence. The bolt and the pin are actually stuck together now, and so while I turn, I'm turning the pin and I can't get my bolt out. So I'm just gonna keep going back and forth with this, until. Decided to go and screw around with my transfer case today. Got it all clean in the parts washer, did a degrease on it before that. Interesting, as clean and nice as this looks, kinda. Take a look at the one on the other truck. It's almost unrecognizable as a piece of metal or a machine part. Anyway, this is all cleaned up. I'm thinking about taking this apart to examine the inside, but on the other hand, everything moves pretty well. There's some drag from the parking brake band, but everything seems to move well. Not a lot of lash in any of these. And I'm cautious that if I take it apart, I'm going to screw it up. What do you guys think? Should I take it apart? Look what we got here. It's a Flathead 6 engine with a newly decked head that looks beautiful.
New freeze plugs. All the mating surfaces on the head have been decked out. New bearings. New pistons. New or reconditioned rods. Gasket. Valves. Everything. So I'm going to be rebuilding this entire engine here in my home garage where it is clean. Where it's going to be free from rust, de-rusting operations that are dusty and gross. And this is going to be humming. Just you wait.
What'd you say to me last night? Do you remember what you said? What'd you say to Daddy?
Take your mustache
Take my mustache what?
off.
To be young again. Evening. So tonight, I'm going to be balling up tape and stuffing it in holes for many hours. Doing paint prep for the engine block. This is the head. Here's the actual block. Once I get through with masking this, I'm going to mask that. In the meantime, I'm taking some of the most dangerous chemicals in my shop, some of this Jasco paint stripper, which is awesome if you haven't used it. I'm getting this bell housing all cleaned up because that's how it mounts onto my stand. So, got some things on the agenda tonight. Hard at it. Stay tuned. Leaf Spring City. Painted the first coat on these last night. They've been rust converted and rust encapsulated, I guess I should say. And doing a nice satin black on these. Last night I finished the primer application on the head. And I'm working on primer application on the bell housing. I'm going to paint the bell housing, get that completely done, and then I'm going to attach the engine block to that. That's the best way to kind of put that on the stand based on the screw holes. So back at it tonight. More paint. Let's do it. Got a nice painted head, all finished. I got to start pulling the plugs out. Really pleased with how that looks. I've started on the bell housing. It's going to be the same color. Purty little thing that she is. Another coat of paint on the springs. And the oil pan has been completely stripped and primed after a very thorough cleaning with acetone. So I'm going to just do a couple more coats and probably call it a night early. To be honest, this is kind of just what the doctor ordered for this project. I've gotten to the point where I was starting to get burned out, and this actually feels like accomplishing something by getting these starting to look like they're ready to be put back on the truck. I guess it's been a while since I had something like that, where I really just had like an actual finished part. Had some early success with like the air cleaner and the carburetor, but it's just been like a slog, just in the trenches, covered in dirt, grinding constantly, and finally we're kind of at a point where there's some light at the end of the tunnel as far as the actual mechanical side of the truck. Yeah. All right, all unmasked. Turned out real nice. And then this bell housing. Really pleased with this. Oh my god, knocking things over. That is going to look great buried beneath the truck, but you know, it's going to be sealed up. It's not going to rust. That's what I want. That's the main goal, and it looks cool too. Boom. What's up, people? So I just left shop. I had the weight of the engine building process kind of just fall upon me. I opened up my gasket kit, and there was a million things that I had no clue where they could possibly go, and just sort of started tail spinning after that experience. So I'm gonna go home and take a couple deep breaths, and I'm gonna start hitting some reading material that I've got. I'm gonna hit some more YouTube videos and just make sure excuse me, that I know what the hell I'm doing before I start trying to put this thing together. Again, not a mechanic, not an engine builder. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never done this before. And, you know, the universe has a good way of humbling you sometimes, and this is one of those situations. So stay tuned, see what happens. Back at the shop tonight, and I'm just checking boxes. I just populated the pistons with their rings. Next, we're going to be adding the rods. Stay tuned. Okay, not too bad. These all went together pretty well. No issues. Maybe someone can tell me what this groove on the top of the piston is. It's a little bit confusing for me. A lot of the old pistons had a heat dam, which was like a cut along one side, which clearly went to one side of the engine or the other. However, these pistons are completely symmetrical with the exception of this cutout. I don't know what that means. Looking for answers. Hook me up. Help me out if you can. Next step, I'm going to take the crankshaft out of the box. I'm going to rotate my engine over. I'm going to lay it in its bearings, and I'm going to put these caps on and just make sure it spins properly with these torqued down. So stay tuned. That's happening next. All right, so I put the crankshaft in. I put the bearing caps on, and I initially had some tight spots when it rotated. So I removed the 2 center bearing caps. With just the front and rear one, I think it's moving appropriately. But when I had these in, there was like 2 tight spots at the top and the bottom of the rotation, I guess. You can see some wear pattern forming around the edge on this one and this one as well. Now, here's my question since I have 0 frame of reference. Will these wear in to the point where they'll be smooth all throughout? Or if they won't, what do I need to do to eliminate those tight spots in the rotation of this crankshaft? Hit me up. Well, my friends, this is a beautiful thing. I've got my 80-gallon compressor here in the shop. Got everything hooked back up. Motor just got rewired. Next step, I've got this conduit that has been plumbed into the floor. Got a piece of string in there that runs all the way to the panel. So I've got to get some tough string attached to that, pull the tough string through the wire, through the conduit, and then pull new wire all the way back. It's going to be awesome. Stay tuned. That is a beautiful sound. And with that running, I'm going to start sandblasting everything. Good morning and happy Tuesday from Parts and Restoration. I'm going back to my roots today. And I'm going to be making a video with my cell phone. Look forward to that in probably the next day or 2 on the YouTubes. Working on the truck heater. And I had everything sandblasted and painted. I did a lot of sealing on the radiator core. And I'm just going through and getting everything ready for assembly. Look for that a little later. Look at that beautiful fire engine red. This is the Mopar Truckmaster Model 75. This is a factory option heater for the Power Wagon. This thing was in terrible shape when I took it off the truck. I wound up bondoing a ton of holes out of the bottom where it was just rusted out. I mean, there's a couple of remnants left. Not perfect, although that's hidden in the back. And I'm getting this thing back together so that I can reinstall and heat the truck in cold weather. As you can see, it is badly pitted. I didn't go crazy with the Bondo, just filling some pinholes, etc. And this thing is going to look really sweet when it's all finished. I actually got my pipe sweating torch and solder to get to work getting this thing leak proof, and I've got a great tip for testing it out. I'm going to fill it with water and leave it for a day or 2. Should be good to go. Another restoration completed. The old Mopar Truckmaster heater. Really pleased with how this turned out. And best of all, at least theoretically, this will keep my truck warm in the winter. What do you think? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How is everybody doing? I am doing well. Thank you for asking. This evening, spent a lot of time working on the front end. I got the timing cover and all of the timing chain and gears all installed. That whole front plate, all the gasketing involved with that. Everything is done that way forward, which is really cool. Well, not everything. There's a couple little bit of things left to do. I got to install the water pump and whatever. Don't pay no attention. Received this in the mail. This was new old stock, which was really cool. It even still had the Dodge sticker, like part number from the 50s on it. That's the lower dust cover for my clutch housing. I've just been playing around with this oil pan. Right, caps off. Got the crank laid. All but one piston is installed. I broke off one of the rod bolts that stripped out. It was just old. I was reusing it. Installed, or I have a new one at the machine shop getting checked. That should be within the next day or 2.
oil pickup, oil tube, my dipstick. I got a new dipstick. I was using a dipstick, Jimmy. Got that from Vintage Power Wagons. Thank you guys. They've helped me out with lots of parts. But everything's just coming together. It's looking good. I've been doing really good to keep everything clean as best as I can. I mean, this is not a clean room, but I'm, doing what I can. Wash my hands, whatnot. Anyway, this thing is coming together really well. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to be here all day tomorrow, crushing. Hey guys, been here all day. Right now I'm working on getting some threads chased out. Getting ready to install some studs for the intake and exhaust manifold. And I've been busting my butt today, so I've got plenty to show you. Well, I got all my studs installed, and now I mocked up my intake and exhaust just to kind of get a feel for it. I've got a kit that had all new hardware. My assumption is that the brass fittings go on hot exhaust, and then I've got those steel, different style ones. I've got 4 of these that I'm assuming go on the slightly cooler intake. If you know the difference, maybe let me know. I'm curious, I'm not sure. And also there are these brass bushings, I want to say go in here. I really have no idea. I'm kind of just making it up. If you know more than I do, hit me up. So today's been full of action and adventure. I busted out the old oxyacetylene setup today to flatten out some bumps. You can see I accidentally turned off the oxygen there for a second and blew acetylene soot all over my frame. I had 2 big bulges in the rear here that I've mostly flattened out using a hammer. And I've been prepping this frame because I'm hoping tomorrow to actually get this thing wire wheeled again, prepped, and coated in a rust converting primer, and actually get this thing ready to be reassembled. Major step. Working with some Eastwood products. I'm excited about that. And hopefully tomorrow this will get started. Been hard at sandblasting and painting everything in my way. This is a frame section that actually holds the battery tray in place. The drag link for the steering all got sandblasted today. All of its parts got cleaned in the parts washer. Working on more drag link components. This is actually the what's it called? There's like a ball joint in there. Next up for painting is going to be the water pump. Got some more bolts primed up. Dust cover for the clutch housing that I got sandblasted today. I'm just going through and getting everything ready for reassembly. Kind of hoping that by the time I'm done all of this kind of grunt work, I'll be able to just slap this whole truck back together and drive away. A little crazy, but I think we can make it happen. Blast from the past. You remember these hooks? They've been sitting in a bucket for the last, 2 months. Kind of forgot about them. But I just finished cleaning them up on the wire wheel, getting the remaining trace of paint off. Got them buffed off enough that some of the surface rust is gone. Keep my Evaporust pot life nice and long. And these are going to go for a bath, probably till tomorrow. Get in there. All right, see how they look. What's up, gang? Just spent the last 2 or 3 hours re-wire wheeling the entire frame of the truck because I'm getting set up to do all my Eastwood stuff. This thing's going to be prepped, primed with rust converting paint, and then it's going to be painted black with 2K paint, so epoxy based paint, so it'll last. I look like I just came out of a coal mine. Holy shit. Looks pretty good though. It's still kind of dusty, and as the wire wheel spins, it kind of redeposits rusty powder on the other surfaces. This is actually the upside down. This is the bottom, but looking pretty darn good. So I'm making a video for Eastwood, or with Eastwood I should say, with their help, and this is going to be happening very soon. Look at all that paint. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Degreasing the frame, getting ready for paint. As you can see, I've killed multiple trees to accomplish this mission, but this thing is the least greasy thing you've ever encountered. Ever. Well, gang, it's been a long day. This entire frame has been completely stripped down and is fully degreased, ready for tomorrow when I'm going to paint it using platinum rust encapsulator from Eastwood. Now, let's be honest. I went overboard with this and I got most of the rust off, but as you can see, there's still some pitting going on. And this rust encapsulator is going to seal it in tight, and this is really exciting. It's going to be a silver color initially, and then I'm going to be coming in with this 2K Salt chassis satin black. That's going to look really nice on top of that. And this silver stuff is just going to seal in the flavor really well. 3 times stronger. Good morning, friends. So this greeted me in a package when I got home last night. It's a replacement for the side of the hood where it says what the truck is. Now, these are not in great shape, to be honest. You can see there's a lot of the plating peeling up here. I'm just looking for some recommendations on what I should do with these. My first thought is I should just hand them over to like a chromer and have them work their magic. But I don't know. Is this chrome? Is this plating? Is this nickel? Should I sandblast these and then give them to someone? Should I just give them to someone as a package and say, do your magic? Looking for some recommendations because this will be my first time doing anything like this restoration-wise. Late night last night, 12:30 at the shop, still finishing things up. Got a bit of a late start today, obviously, but I'm heading back there now to paint the frame. So stoked. Would you look at that? The old Power Wagon frame looking all shined up. This is Eastwood Rust Encapsulator Platinum. And this is the base coat of this frame. This frame is going to get painted black, but this stuff is going to seal the rust in and keep it from coming back. Very nice. Good evening. So the paint from earlier has been curing for the last 4 hours, and now I'm headed back to the shop to install or apply the 2K black satin frame rail paint that's going to make the truck look factory. If I told you I got a scratch and dent new old stock radiator from 1958, would you believe me? A little bit of fin damage. No, this is the one that came off the truck. I had it serviced. They had they had to do a little bit of repair on this top seam here, but it's been cleaned up very thoroughly. Scoring pad across all of the brass tanks, top and bottom. Prime paint, and then a little bit of detail work. I love the logo. DCPD, Dodge, Chrysler, Plymouth, DeSoto. I'm not sure what the AC stands for. But yeah, this thing is beautiful once again, ready to drop right back into the truck. Oh yeah, and then there's this. So, came in here with my 2K paint. Got about a dozen of those in the trash can right now. Not a dozen, 5. But I painted right over top of the rust converter. This thing looks great. I'm really, really stoked on how it looks. You can see a lot of the brush marks, kind of gives it a little bit of an old school look. I am a little bit frustrated with some of the spots. I did kind of gloop it on thick as recommended, but there's some raised bits. But you know what? It really doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned. I want this thing not to rust over again, and I'm positive that for the most part, that's not going to happen with the way this is painted. Everything is absolutely encapsulated, and the color's right, and I can really just kind of start putting things back on the truck now, which is really, really exciting. Well, gang, it's been a long day, and today is a benchmark in this project. Up until this point, I've only been tearing this thing down. I've stripped it down to, its individual component parts, and I haven't been building anything up until this point. Now that I have this frame to work on, and to add things to, I can start putting this truck back together. And that is a huge step in the right direction. I just checked, I'm approximately 4 months into this project, and things are moving along significantly faster than I ever could have imagined. And I'm so glad to be able to share this stuff with you. I am going to be posting a video within the next 2 to 3 days of the strip down and repainting and restoring of this frame. Look forward to that coming very, very soon.
If you like that video, take some time to check out my other ones. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I usually figure it out. Thanks for watching.